Okay. So I don't know if you guys have been kind of keeping an eye on inventory, but inventory is awful right now. I kind of sound like a broken record, but we have our inventory right now is half of what it was in June of this last year, when our inventory was at an all-time low. So our inventory is just absolutely terrible right now. And so we're running into the same thing, tons of offers on properties getting bid up. So the reality is right now, I can tell you, like, as a buyer's agent, I'm not even running CMAs for the most part, because the CMA doesn't matter. When you call an agent and say, hey, we've got 10 offers, this is what it's going to take to be competitive. It doesn't matter if the property is worth that or not. If the people want it, that's what they're going to have to bid to get it. So you can certainly tell them, you can run a CMA and say, hey, look, there's not a whole lot in this neighborhood, and you should run a CMA to maybe tell them how much gap they might expect to use. Whatever their offer is, they may say, hey, the reality is we have to offer 50,000 in gap, and it wouldn't be unreasonable to think you'd probably have to bring at least half that to the table. So that would be a reason for a CMA right now, but ultimately, like, trying to win an offer, it has nothing to do with giving the quote unquote market value from a CMA as an offer, because that's just not going to land the deal. What's going to land the deal is beating the other 9 offers that are already sitting on the table. So right now I'm not doing a ton of CMA work, to be honest, just on listings, obviously. And even on listings, the great thing on listings right now, you don't even have to do a ton of CMA work on listings right now, because if you miss, as long as you miss low, you're fine. The market's going to bring it back. So that's a big thing I tell people right now is do not miss high. That would be like a fatal error in today's market. So, because you're not going to get the terms that you want, you're not going to get the bid up. Even if you got, like, let's say you listed the property at 450 and it got bid up to 500, okay, versus listing the property at 500 and getting a list price offer for. The one that got bid up is going to be a much better transaction, because you're going to have had multiple offers that took it up to 500, which means you're also going to get appraisal provisions. You're going to get inspection provisions. You might get hard earnest money. You're going to get waived contingencies, where if you get one offer at 500, yeah, the net sheet is the same to your seller. So your seller looks at that and goes, hey, I got 500, great. But they don't understand what they're missing in terms of the terms of the contract and the contingencies that are removed. And then the other thing is it kind of about perception too. Your seller is going to think you're a freaking genius if you get 10 offers, 50K over list with all the contingencies removed, versus listing it right at 500 with, all the contingencies still there, not as great terms, that kind of stuff. It's just going to look like a normal real estate transaction. So there's a little bit of perception involved there. So I would tell people, if you comp a property out and you've got support, let's say at 450, okay, lots of support at 450, but in your mind, you kind of know what the market's doing. And you're like, the thing's going to sell for 475. Don't list for 475. List where you have support, because you have to protect your seller from appraisal mishaps. Okay. So if you list at 475 just because you quote unquote know the market, but there's only support at 450. Well, if you list at 475, even if it gets bid up from there, people are only going to give you appraisal gap back down to list price. If you missed high on list price, they're going to tell you that's your fault. And if we appraise below 475, that's your problem. Okay. So we want to make sure that we give our seller that protection. So do not price your property, even if those comps are 3 months old and the market's increased since then. Make sure that you're pricing no higher than where you've got tons of support. Okay, so you should have 3-4 properties that support a 450 price point all day long, and then anything above that, you make the buyer cover, right? So the buyer goes, okay, I'm going to give you 475, but I'll give you $25,000 in cap. So does that make sense from a pricing standpoint? Like, price where there's support, not where you kind of quote unquote know the market's going to be based on our inventory or whatever. Okay. And you'll get a feel for that. The more you're in the business, you'll kind of just know, you'll be like, there's support here at 450, but there's no way this thing goes less than 475. You'll just kind of know it. because you might even look at, you might even call some of the pendings in the area and they go, yeah, we listed at 450 and, we had 10 offers. You're like, great. It's going to go over that, but just don't list any further, any higher than you have support at. Protect your seller and allow the buyers to pay for any of the difference you gap. Okay. So, it's okay to tell your seller, hey, I think we should list at 450, and here's why. The reality is that our market is driving things in a northward direction, which is fine, and that's what we want. But the more offers we get to drive that price up, the better terms I can command you through negotiations. We're going to get waived appraisals. We're going to get waived inspections. We're going to get hard earnest money. That's what we're really shooting for. And the sweet spot for me is 5 to 7 offers. Like, that's what I want. So that's another point to hopefully hammer home to you guys. If you are presenting 15, 20 offers to your client, you're not a hero. Okay? You are confusing the hell out of your seller. You mismanage the listing. Okay, I'm telling you that right now. I firmly believe that if somebody calls me, a client calls me, or just a person calls me and goes, oh yeah, my agent got us 15 offers, I'm going to tell them that their agent mismanaged their offer, okay, or their listing. Okay, either A, they missed the mark on their list price. They listed it too low. Okay, which that is not that big of an issue in our market right now because it's always going to come back. Okay. But B, what a stressful situation that creates for everybody involved. There's a couple things that you did here to mismanage this listing. A, okay, you may have priced it low, and potentially, again, in this market, doesn't really matter. But in the off chance that you listed on that weekend where, like August this year, where all of a sudden showings just disappeared, you may cost your client money. B, you created a ton of work for yourself unnecessarily. You have to present all 15 to 20 of those offers. So you had to put all of those offers in a spreadsheet, do whatever you had to do to present 15 offers. C, you made it stressful for your seller trying to decide between 15 different offers, okay? And having to present ones that are bottom of the barrel that don't even matter. And lastly, D, you put 14 other buyers on the edges of their seat and agents on the edges of their seat, hoping, praying that this is the one. When you could have said, you know what, I got to be honest with you, before you even submit an offer, if you're not at least here, you're just not going to be competitive. And I hate to say that to you as an agent, and I wish you the best of luck, but I want to give you the opportunity to go put an offer on another house that you might have a better shot at. Put yourself in those shoes, right? As you guys as buyer's agents right now, wouldn't you be so grateful if a listing agent told you that? If you called them up and they said, hey, I just want to be very clear with you, we're currently at well over $50,000 over list price. So if you're not in that realm, I'd tell you to save the stress, save the anxiety, maybe go put an offer on a different property. Wouldn't that be a nice thing to know as a buyer's agent? So do the same for your colleagues. Okay, so 15 offers does not make you a great agent. 15 offers makes you a poor agent, in my opinion. Okay, there is a sweet spot there, 5 to 7 offers. So the idea is what you're doing is once you get, 2 or 3 really solid offers, those kind of become stepping stones and standards. Okay, so the idea is like, hey, anybody that comes in, I am going to disclose where those offers are. Not necessarily exactly, but I'll just say, look, we are well over list price. We're 20 to 30,000 over list price. If you're not going to be in that window. Now again, if those offers are 20,000 over list with no gap and no inspection or no inspection waivers or anything like that, you're still fishing for better offers. Okay. But that you can, when those people call, tell them, hey, we're about 20 over list, but there's still some room there. There's still some possibilities here because we don't have all the terms that we'd really like to have. So bring me something with better terms and it'll put you in good position. And then you'll get that one. And then now that you've got that one, now you've got 3 offers. And this one now is 520 with all the bells and whistles. Now you can basically tell people, hey, if you're not 520 with all the bells and whistles, save your time, save your effort. shoot for 5 to 7 offers. It's manageable. It's not overwhelming for your client. It's enough offers that you have 1 or 2 that are going to be really solid. You can take one and then take another as a backup if you'd like. And it just, it makes it an easier presentation, everything. Okay. So just know that, you know, the people that are out there posting on Facebook that I just sold this property for with 26 offers and 70,000 over list price doesn't impress me. It makes me think that you're a bad agent. Okay. And it makes me feel sorry for your client that had to sit through the presentation of 26 offers if you did your job the way it's supposed to be done. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's talk about, let's just do a quick, I don't want to do a full CMA. For those of you that came in late, and I don't know, like maybe Mike or Sean can tell me, can you guys see what I put in chat prior to you guys joining? There's 3 YouTube links in there. Can you see that if you joined late?
No.
No.
Okay, let's see if I can recopy this. Perfect. Okay, so those are 3 links to CMA classes I've done in the past. The CMAs, I don't like doing them. They're boring. I don't like teaching them. So I'm going to refer you to a prior class that you can watch on your own time for CMAs. The first 2 links are full on CMAs, like doing a CMA for a listing. The last link there is like a quick, I call it like an initial CMA for a seller. I'm going to do that one right now for you guys anyway. So it's just like a quick overview on how to quickly price a property. You can do this on the buy side for people, and you can do it on the sell side, like prior to seeing the property. So a lot of times sellers want to call you and be like, hey, I'm interested in selling my property. What do you think it's worth? And you're like, I haven't seen it, but I could maybe give you a ballpark. Okay, so generally speaking, I'll give people like a $40,000 window before I see their house. And then after I see their house, I'll drop it down to like a $10,000 to $20,000, window. Hey, I think your property is going to sell somewhere between 410 and 425. If and I give them a list price. So let's talk about that. Let's do a quick kind of CMA. And like I said, I'm going to do this through RE Colorado. It translates into IRIS. So as long as you know where to look, you should be fine in IRIS. All right. Let me think here. Let's see if we can grab a property that somebody likes. All right, let's use this property. I've got a client that's interested in this property. Okay, and let's say what we want to try to figure out is, as a buyer, what do we think it's actually going to go for? Because I can tell you right now, a single family residence for 1,800 square feet in Westminster is not going to sell for $399. There's nothing single family for under 400. So it's just not going to happen. So now the idea is like, we go, okay, what do we think it's going to go for? So let's just do like a quick comp. And this should be something that takes us 10, 15 minutes, maybe. Okay. So the first thing I'm literally going to do is we're going to look location wise. And obviously the better you know you guys' areas, the easier this is going to be for you. Okay. So I'm not going to look at anything else other than location. So the first thing I'll do is I'll pull up my map. And we're at 108th and Harlan, so we're this guy right here. All right. So actually, I want to get out of this guy's cart, so we'll go back to residential. All right, so we'll grab our map here. And I know that area. 112th and Harlan is, or 108th and Harlan is going to be a neighborhood that we call Sheridan Green. and I'm going to box this whole neighborhood. So I'm going to grab this whole neighborhood, and I always box it on the map versus if you go into criteria, at least in RE Colorado, you can type in Sheridan Green. But I can tell you, at least in RE Colorado, a lot of agents don't put the subdivision name in. So I can search Sheridan Green and some stuff won't pop up. So I'm just going to actually box it first. Plus, one of the things that I can do in this particular instance is under that map, I may want to go north of 112. So, right. My computer's going slow. All right, so I'm going to grab this. I know that this area here is a different neighborhood, and I know that these homes especially are newer, so I know that those aren't going to be good comps for this one, but I could grab this little pocket if I didn't have enough in the subdivision. But we're going to start in the subdivision, right? We want it to be as kind of tight as possible. So then what we're going to do is we're just going to grab your pendings and your closed, okay? And then I kind of go back to my map just to check out where they're at. Perfect. Now I know that my subject property is a 3-bed, 3-bath. It's like 1,800 square feet. Okay. So because I've got enough results in here, and I can actually tell you that this little pocket is a different little section as well. And so I'm actually going to remove this pocket of homes. And you can tell because this one sold for 640 and these are all 500 and 300s and 400s. So this is just a little new pocket exclusive area of that neighborhood. So we're going to take that and we're going to exclude that shape. Okay. So now we have this little pocket here. We've got a decent amount. So now I'm going to break it down. You guys, do any of you guys remember from your CMA class that you may have taken even in school about how close should we be in square footage? What percent do we allow for off of square footage? Just remember?
10 to 15%.
Yeah, exactly. So we know that our subject property is about 1,800 square feet. So I'm just going to do a square footage of like 1,600 to 2,000. Okay. So now we've got 6 matches. Okay. So I may have narrowed it down too much, in which case we're going to make that change back up. So we've got, here we go. That's a 4-bed, 3-bath, 3-bed, 2-bath, 4-bed, 2-bath. All right, start with these. And I think what I want to do is open that up a little bit more. Let's go 1,500 to 2,200. All right, that gives me 10 matches. Let's do that. So the first one was about 10%. This one's going to give me a little bit more. This is almost 20%. I think it's 15% down and about 20% up. So, all right, go back to our map. That's good. We got a pending here. And then the first thing that I'm going to do is we'll go into kind of our results here now. And now what I like to do is set our current price and have it kind of in descending order. And what this is going to do in my head right off the bat is give me a really big range. Okay, so a really big range on this property. So I know the property, like with 99% certainty, is going to fall somewhere between 342.5 and 570. Okay, now the next step is pretty easy. We're going to go to our current property, or the property that's for sale, the one that we're comping. And this is why it's hard with a listing. If you don't know what the property looks like, you really have to kind of tell them, hey, can you give me an idea? Is your kitchen updated? Are your bathrooms updated? What do your floors look like? Has it been freshly painted? Does it need a roof? That kind of stuff. You can kind of ask them before you actually see the condition, and you can get tighter than this. So it's really similar to having some bad photos of a property. So let's take a look at this thing. I can already tell you, I'm sure it's going to be dumpy. Okay. All right. So we've got a kitchen that needs to be pretty much completely remodeled. We're missing a refrigerator. Obviously, we need flooring. We got wood paneling. We got popcorn ceilings. Missing doors, missing trim. Beautiful bathroom. Another beautiful bathroom. Nice carpet. Okay, so what do you guys think of that property? What grade condition is it in? If we had to give them A for F condition.
Poor. Not even fair. It's poor.
It's a flip. This is a flip. It's priced to be a flip. I know it's priced to be a flip because I know Sheridan Green, and I know that homes go for up to $570,000 in Sheridan Green. There's no chance you're getting a decent home for $400K here. So we know that right off the bat, right? So now what we can start doing is we go back to our days on display and we can start eliminating the top end, right? Well, we know there's no chance it's worth 570, but just to take a look, and if we want to, this is another good practice here, is if you want to start working with investors, okay, what do investors, let's see if anybody knows this, what do investors want to know about this property? What is, if somebody's going to flip this property, what is the statistic or the acronym that they want to know about this
I
house?
want to know how much it's going to be worth.
How much it's going to be worth? What is that called?
ROI.
What's it called?
Improved value, I think.
Ooh, really close. Really close. Anybody know it? It's a three-digit acronym.
Improved appraised value.
ARV, after repair value. After repair value, okay, or after renovation value. Okay, so a flipper is going to say, what's the ARV? What's the ARV of this property? Okay, the ARV of the property is what the property is going to be worth after they're done with it. Okay, so the way we figure that out, pretty simply, is we go here and we look at, okay, well, this is a bi-level, okay, this is a multi-level, which we can, you know, say, all right, no problem, it's a multi-level. This one's a little bit bigger. And let's look at the pictures of what a $570,000 house looks like in this neighborhood. First of all, it's on a beautiful lot. Okay, it doesn't even have a neighbor next door. Looks like it's in some type of cul-de-sac. Beautiful landscaping. Okay, nice LVP flooring, decent paint. Not open floor plan. Nice kitchen, newer wood cabinets, stainless steel appliances. Tile floor, kind of older wood railing. Looks like popcorn has been scraped on some of the ceilings. Nice carpet, nice paint. Basement looks nice. Newer windows, I can tell from that picture. There's no egress, but there's newer windows. Bathrooms, you know, got this older vanity, easily replaced. Good sized master bedroom. Older bathroom, wainscoting in one of the rooms, older bathroom again, backyards, okay. Big lot, really big lot. How big is this lot? Wow, half acre. That's a big lot in Sheridan Green. So, so we look at that. We had a list price of 549. That went for 570 and it's not fully updated, okay, at 2,200 square feet. So you're looking at, okay, we've got $357 per square foot finished above grade, or 262 total, okay? So you go, you know, you take ours, give me one sec here, let's go back and look at ours. Just to get a real rough figure, we've got 1,821 square feet times 262. Okay, so minimally 477, minimally ARV 477, but I know it's much higher than that. One, the smaller your house is, the more dollar per square footage you're going to get, always. Okay, so if you added, you know, adding 500 square feet to 1,000 square foot home is significant. Adding 500 square feet to a 3,000 square foot home isn't as significant. So that extra 500 square feet or that extra 200 square feet makes a bigger difference the smaller your house is, okay? So we're gonna get a little bit better. Plus that home was not fully renovated. It still had some older bathrooms. The yard was So the reality is you're probably looking at better than, significantly better than that on the back end. Okay. So we're looking at, what the top end of the market brings. I would be willing to bet you could tell somebody that, hey, if you do this thing the right way, you could push 600. ARV would push 600 on a property like this. Okay. So, but what we're looking at now is let's look at a comp. So what I'm doing is, let's say the property is not a dump. All I'm doing now is comparing property to property. So I look at this place and I'm sure we got a resounding no here, but is our subject property as nice as this property? No. So all I do is I go back to my days on market display and I delete this property. I remove it from where we're at. Oh, let me show you guys one more thing. Right now we are searched in a map. Here, let me show you how to remove these so that you can literally take them in and out. Select all of these. Again, I don't know how you do this in Iris, but select all of these. And we have in RE Colorado what's called a cart. And I create a cart for, call it Sheridan Green Comp. And click save. And now we can go back into here, into our main page, and we have this Sheridan Green Comp. And now it doesn't necessarily grab it based on that map. It just grabs those units that I had within there. And now I can remove them. So we've got this 570 price point down here at the bottom, and I'm going to remove it because it's not a comp. For this particular property, it's not a comp. So we go over to carts, remove, checked, and now we're down to 9. Okay. Now let's look at the next one. Okay. Beautiful. It's the same exact house. It's a bi-level 2-car garage, same exact house. So I love this because this is going to really help me with my ARV as well. We get a nice split rail fence out front. Okay. Kind of updated kitchen. We've got some older like Corian countertops, stainless steel appliances. Nice backyard. Backs to a green belt. That's really nice. New poured concrete, pull through in the back, extended parking. Nice little patio, paver patio out back. Closed floor plan. Okay, pretty standard grade, nothing crazy, nothing above and beyond. Not super outdated, but not super updated either. Older furnace. Nice garage. Cool, really nice property. The yard's in great shape, great location. So this is a beautiful ARV comp, a beautiful ARV comp, right? So now we know that we've got an exact replica of the house that we're trying to sell. First of all, if we weren't doing an ARV comp, we would know, does this one get to stay? No, we delete it. It's way too nice compared to our comp. So now what we're doing, and honestly what we're doing when we're trying to get this initial comp, we're just subtracting from each end. Hey, is it as nice as this property? No, delete it. Is it as nice as this property? Until you get to a point where you're like, yeah, these are about close. And then you do on the bottom end too. Oh, it's way nicer than this property. Dump that one. And you just keep going until you get about a $40,000 range or a $20,000 range, whatever you can knock it down to. In this case, though, this particular property, you really need to know the ARV value. If you were listing this house, not this one here, but the subject property, you would need to know that it's going to sell to an investor. This is not going to be an owner-occupied property. And in order to sell to an investor, you need to know what the back end value is. So very, very easily, we know, okay, well, 538 is what this one went for. And it's not super nice, but it's clean, it's livable, and it's in a very nice location. I mean, backing to the green belt is really, really nice. Let's see. That is not where that property is located. Oh, okay. See, so that doesn't seem right. Yeah, so you got to be careful. Sometimes, at least in RE, the house is not marked where it actually is. This is not the same house. So I'd have to probably do a search and find it. Search for an actual address and find it. But I'm guessing it's somewhere up here backing to the Greenbelt and maybe across the street from the park. So I need to double check location on that one because it's certainly not that. Okay. So ARV wise, we know, all right, if somebody totally flips this property, first of all, the first thing that they should do is open up the floor plan in a property like this. In these bi-levels, there's no reason that wall between the kitchen and the living room or the family room shouldn't come down. This wall right here, this entire wall needs to come down if we want to open this up. And if you open that up, you're automatically on top of this 538, you're automatically going to add another probably 25 grand in value to this place. Plus, then you're going to update the bathrooms. You're going to have not just standard, you're not going to have carpet all over the place. You'll have laminate, vinyl plank, that kind of stuff. So it's not unreasonable to think that 575. Plus, this thing sold back in September and August, and the market's actually climbed since then. So it's not unreasonable to think that this thing's going to be 560, 575, even 600, done really nicely, especially, depending on location and things like that. So we need to know kind of the ARV value. Okay. So when you're selling this, but really, again, what we're doing here is I'm going to delete this one now. I'm going to remove this one and go, no, we're definitely, not in the 500 range. And we're just going to keep going down. Here we go. Here's another bi-level. This one's a small bi-level though. So we've got an updated bi-level. Okay. This one's flipped. They put a nice deck on the back. That was a nice little addition. Corner unit to the park. And then what I like to do on this is you can see pretty obviously that this property was flipped. So what I like to do is I like to go look at the history and see what they acquired it for just recently. Here you go. So they bought the property for 342, which is funny because in our list of comps, it's the number one comp there. So this property's in there twice. They bought this thing for 342 and sold it for 530, which from a flip standpoint is probably, for a 1,500 square foot property, is a monster. They couldn't have possibly put more than 80 grand into that thing. So they were into it for 420, maybe 440 with holding costs, sold it for 530 minus real estate costs. They made a nice, 70, 80K on this flip. So nice, goodbye on their behalf. Okay. So now we get an idea of, okay, what it looks like on the back end. And you can see there it is. There's the address, 1140 Harlan, 11040 Harlan. And this is what it sold for on the front end. This is what it sold for on the back end. Okay. And you can even look at price per square foot and you can comp things that way. Okay. And you can see that on their back end, finished price per square foot, they got 338 for total square footage. Again, they have a smaller square footage. So is our property going to sell for, when we flip this property, this 18 or 10,840, is it going to sell for higher than 338 per square foot or lower than 338 per square foot? Not everybody at once.
Probably higher, I'm thinking, because time has passed. More time for appreciation.
So it's gonna sell for a higher price point, but remember our unit is bigger.
Oh, okay.
1821 versus 1564. So what do we just talk about? If your home is bigger, do you sell for a higher price per square foot or a lower price per square foot?
Well, initially we talked about a little bit lower so that you could get multiple offers, but not more than the 5 to 7 range. So there's that.
So that's not price per square foot though. That is
Oh,
your
that's not.
price. Yep. So your
Okay.
price per square foot, the bigger your house gets, the lower price per square foot. Remember, that's what we talked about. Adding 500 square feet to 1,000 is way more significant than adding 500 square feet to 3,000. So, so yeah, so here in this case, we're not going to sell for 338 per square foot on the back end. I'll show you why, and you can see why why it would be unreasonable. Let's just run the number. 338 times 1821. Property's not going to sell for 615. I already told you guys that it would probably sell for 575 to 600. Okay?
Right.
615 is just too high. It's not going to go for that price per square foot. So it's because it's a bigger house, a little bit bigger house. So
Okay.
when we get something right in range here, like let's look at this one. Let's look at this one for 505. It's the exact same. It's going to be the exact same square footage, or really similar square footage. Okay. We got a little bit of a different issue on this one. Okay. What do you guys notice right off the bat on this one?
It's not a bi-level.
It's not a bi-level. What else?
No basement?
I haven't
The other one
noticed
had a
that yet.
basement, right?
I haven't noticed that yet.
Is it a
But
foreclosure?
that's true. What's that?
Foreclosure?
It's not a foreclosure. That's just this tab is here for
Oh,
if it is. What's the difference between, let's see if I can find it. All right, here's a bi-level. So it's the same thing. What's the difference between this house and this house? Just by looking at it.
Sold.
yeah.
It looks newer.
It looks newer. That's it looks newer, right? This right here is a 1970s build. True and true. In northern Colorado, in southern Colorado, in Denver metro area, this is a 1970s build home, maybe even 1960s, but we can see right here 1975. Okay. This house right here is not. Why? We've got these peaks, this peaked garage for one. Okay. We can just tell from the facade, this house is not a 1970s build. There's no chance. So sure enough, here we go. 1991. Okay. That's a big difference in just the facade of the house and the location, right? They didn't just build a 1991 home right in the middle of 1970s, right? So we know that location, something about this property, it's not in the same location. So sure enough, here we go. Sheridan Green is between Sheridan right here and Westminster Boulevard. It's this big rectangle. But everything on the east side of Eaton, this street right here, is newer. So this little pocket of homes was built in the 90s. This little pocket of homes was built in the 90s, and they're bigger and nicer. Okay. So I don't like this as a comp right off the bat. I don't like it. It's not the same type of neighborhood. Okay. It's a 16-year newer house. So if somebody goes, hey, well, my neighbor's house, let's say you get a person that's selling their house right here. And they go, yeah, we had a house a couple blocks away that sold for 505. I'd be like, that house is 16 years newer. It's got vaulted ceilings. It's got, whatever it has. Let's go in here and look at it. It's got a little kitchen nook, little different designs. Yeah, it's dated, but look, we got vaulted ceilings. We got a loft. It's just got a newer feel to it. Got a newer feel. But this is what a completely outdated 1990s house sells for. It's $500,000 because this house is completely outdated. The bathrooms, the doors, the trim. It's all outdated, but I don't like this as a comp for our 1970s build. Okay, so now we're going to go back into our days on market. We're going to find this place for 505. I'm going to delete it. Okay, so really all I'm doing at this point is I'm literally just taking pictures of the properties and trying to narrow down where my property is going to fall in. So let's go on the bottom end and look at what a 342 flip looks like. Okay, well, this one is straight brutal. Woo. All right. Well, nice. It's sad to think that somebody probably lived here. That's sad. All right. So we get to look at this one, and they listed for $399. They actually got $342. They sold it for $342.5, which great. Somebody got a great deal. Let's see who bought it. Okay, little inside deal here. Buyer agent, list agent is the same person. Little inside deal. So now I kind of want to know and see who sold it on the back end. Let's check. All right, different person sold it on the back end. So anyway, little inside deal there. So maybe there was a reduced commission or something, but I can tell you 342 selling for 530 on the back end or whatever it sold for. That's a monster flip. That's huge. So just to give you guys kind of a standard, right now, flippers will, for the most part, flippers would like to buy property at 70% of ARV. Okay, that's where they make money. So 530,000. If we say, hey, ARV is 530,000 times 0.7, they don't want to buy it for much more than 371. Well, this person bought it or sold it at 530 on the back end, and they bought it for 342. So they bought it at like 0.65 of ARV, which is absolutely unheard of. It's got to be pretty much an inside deal or an off-market deal to get that kind of thing, numbers. If somebody offered me a property at 0.6 or 0.65 ARV and I didn't have the money, I would find the money. That's how good of a deal it is. Okay. A lot of investors right now are even buying up to 0.75 of ARV. Okay. So again, if we've got 530 times 0.75, they would buy the home for about 400. Why? Well, because they know that they can get into this thing and they can completely remodel a 1,500 square foot property for probably 70 grand. So 70 grand on top of that, they're basically 470 into it, plus maybe 10,000 in holding costs. So they're 480, and they sell it for 530 minus some fees on the back end. They still make a $30,000 profit on this house. There's still 30 grand in there. So being able to buy this thing at 342 is massive. Okay. So 399 is where our property's at. And one thing I want you guys to see is that condition wise, what do you guys think between this one, our subject property, and the one we just looked at? Whose condition was worse, do you think?
Second one.
This one here?
Yeah.
You guys agree with that? So this
Yes.
one, I would agree as well. I would agree as well. I think this one, first of all, this one has bigger square footage, which is a different story. But I think in general, this one looks at least, clean it up, vacuum, and you can actually maybe live in it. I don't know. It's pretty rough, but I do think the first one is worse. That being said, from a value standpoint, what do you think that does to one versus the other? Do you think
That'll give us more value.
What's that?
That'll give us more value for the nicer house.
Do you think so?
A little bit.
Here's why I don't think so. Who is going to buy either of these properties?
An investor.
An investor. And what's an investor going to do to both of these properties?
Rip everything out, start over.
Rip everything out and start over. So the worse it looks, the better for an investor, because the lower the price is probably going to be, because people are like, oh, it's a real shithole, right? Well, the reality is if it's going to be flipped regardless, if everything's going to be torn out regardless, the value is pretty much the same. So these two properties are really similar in value from a front end sales standpoint. From a back end, they're going to be, well, same thing. They're going to be relative square footage wise. So watch this, and we'll see if I'm right. Let's do a square footage. Let's just do a straight up square footage analysis here. Okay. So we know that right now that 1,821 square feet, I can't even remember. I don't remember the other one right now, but we're going to look at it. 1,821 square feet. They're going to try to sell for $399. We know that the other one closed at 342.5 on the front end, and it was 1,500 square feet. I would imagine that the price per square foot on the front end is going to be pretty close. So let's check it. All right, I didn't think it would be exact, but it's exact. So the idea here is it didn't matter how crappy this one was versus the other one. The price per square foot, this one's closed versus the other one. So what can we assume the other one is going to likely close at?
Around the same price as this one.
Around the same price or around the same price per square foot? Because those are two different things.
I think it'll get bid up,
Okay.
potentially $50,000.
Okay. What do you guys think? Anybody else have an opinion on it? My question is, do you think it will sell for, based on this comp right here,
Mhm.
do you think this one will sell for $399?
No,
Why not?
much higher, based on the numbers we just ran. And that other comp, that already closed showed us that potential
Yeah.
on a price per square foot.
Yeah. So price per square foot right now, they're exactly the same,
Mm.
right? But I just told you, and we just proved that this one was an absolute killer deal at 342.5, right? Which is $219 per square feet. At $219 per square feet, this was an absolute killer deal for this flipper. Okay.
Mhm.
And it was an
Yeah.
inside deal, an inside job where the listing agent found the buyer and got it done. Okay. For 50 grand, $57,000 on the list price, which is insane to me. Okay. And this flipper made a ton of money. So in a normal market, is this one going to go for that same price per square foot point? No. So Jamie's right. Sean's right. This one's going to get bid up. It's not going to go for $399. It's not going to go for $399. I can tell you right off the bat, just based on ARV, I already told you, I think this property is probably good for $575 on the back end. So let's just do the math. 575 times 0.7, okay, is 402. And I told you that 0.7s are steals all day and that people are going to be buying them at 0.75. 0.75 is where the margin comes in at, where the people that are either self-representing or doing the work themselves or something like that, where they can save a little bit of money, they'll buy at 0.75 all day. So 575 times 0.75 is 431. Okay. And if we even wanted to go higher than that, okay, because I think I told you guys that I think on the back end 575 to 600 is reasonable. So now let's go on the high end. This is the conservative number. Conservatively, this thing is going to sell for 403 to 430. Okay. And from somebody that really believes they can get 600 on the back end, conservatively is going to go 420. Okay. Or 450. So I think that the property will, for somewhere, I just because I know the area really well, I would be willing to bet this property sells right around 4.25 to 430. That's right where this one will be. It works with the ARV figures. It works with the fact that I kind of know the market, and it works with our comps. So we know that it's going to sell for about the same thing that this one sold for. But the nice thing is we've got some extra square footage, and I think there was some shenanigans going on here.
Totally.
It sold same listing and buyer broker for 50,000 under list. You know, and not only that, I mean, it did sell cash, right? It was well, or private financing, which is hard money. But the fact that it took them 20 days to close, that's not a good deal. For 50 grand, if I'm gonna take 50 grand less than my probably reasonable list price, I'm closing in 7 days. That's the pull. That's the pull for a seller to take a big cash deal like that, not a 20-day close. So, and in addition to that, this one's really funny. Not only did they pay $342.50, they also got concessions in the deal. So they really only paid $340 for it. So this is a slam dunk. I mean, again, a 1,500 square foot property, there's no way that they paid more than 80 grand in reno. They probably did it for significantly less than that. I mean, I just sold a flip 3 months ago, and I just talked to the agent last night that flipped it. It's a 3,000 square foot property in my neighborhood that for sure the upgrades are nicer, and he's 85,000 into it, and he's done. So I can't imagine they put more than 50 or 60 into this house. They probably cleared 100,000 on the back end. The flippers did. So sweet deal. But anyway, that hopefully that kind of gives you an idea. I think the idea here is to grab your comps and start eliminating from the top and the bottom until you get to something that's really close to what your subject property is. And then you can give that person a pretty good range. You can be like, hey, you know, we're probably somewhere in the 420 to 450 range. Once I see your property, I'll get a little better idea what the condition is. I'll recomp. Okay, so I save all these in that cart so I can come back to them later. And now that I know in my mind what the property looks like, I can pull up this little property here on Chase Way and go, which again is one of the newer ones, but I can look at this and go, okay, this one's a little bit nicer than my subject. And I can start taking, adding and subtracting, which if you watch those other two CMAs that I posted in there, those ones will show you how to kind of start adding and subtracting value to the homes based on different finishes, locations, things like that. Okay. Any questions on this?
I have a question. How far out do you usually look for comps? Like how far out on the solds?
Yeah, I usually start with 6 months. So I'll go back 6 months. And then one thing that I'll do is like, let's say, and I usually always have like a book, like a notebook open in front of me, and I'm taking a bunch of notes like on paper in front of me for particular places. So what I'll do is I'll write down like the address, and let's grab one of these for example. A little bit of an older one. Let's take this one. It was listed, basically 6 months ago, sold 5 months ago. So what I'll do is I'll kind of write some notes down on this. I'll have it in front of me. Let's say, for example, I'll tell you what kind of notes I'll write down. So I'll write down on here, list 475, sold 520. I'll put the list date down of 7/17. And then I'll put under contract in 2 days. So I know that we had a bidding war on it, which we know from the price. And then I'll say closed on 8/10. I write down my address so I know which one I'm talking about. And then what I'll do is just to get a better understanding of the way our market has changed over the last 6 months, what I'll do is I'll go into our stats. And I don't know where these are on Iris, but in RE Colorado, you can go into stats, go into cross property reports. And what we'll do is I'll usually pull a couple reports. I'll pull the entire MLS, and then I'll pull more of a hyper local area. But what we'll do is I will go to this customize tab, and I'll pull essentially the last 12 months. And I'll just look at average and or median close price. The charts look the same. And I group them by month. So let's start with the entire MLS. Okay, so now what I do is I go back and I go, okay, August is when this property sold. The average close price in the entire MLS, so I'll write down entire MLS for MLS. Average close was 584. Okay. Then what I'll do is I will go to the last full month. So January, we only have 10 days worth of data right now, or 12 days worth of data. But I'm not going to use January. I'm going to last full month. And then I'm going to go, okay, December. So this is August. And December is 600. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the local, I'm going to go to the more of a local market. So we're going to go back to the search. We're going to put in Westminster. Okay. And the other thing I'm going to do is I want to look at residential single family homes. The problem is here, I may not get enough data. So let's look. Yeah, I'm not getting enough data here. So 1,500 listings isn't quite enough data, but I might write it down anyway. So again, in August, so now I'm going to write down Westy SFR, single family residence. August is 541 and December is 572. So I think what I'm going to do, I don't like, I know that this is not a good representation of what our market did, this kind of up and down and up and down. I'm going to get rid of just the single family residence and get a little bit more data. Still same kind of thing. So Westy, all residential. August is 499 and December is 535. Okay, so now that I've got 3 data points, I'm going to figure out the differences between them. So our first data point is the entire MLS that says that we went from 584 to 600,000. Okay, so we know that 600 minus 584 is 16. Okay, divided by the original 484 is a 2.7% increase in our market since August. That makes sense? You guys see how I did that math? So it's your new number minus your old number divided by your original number, your old number. Okay, so it's a 2.7% increase. Okay, now let's do Westminster single family. So we've got 572 minus 541 is 31 divided by 541 is our original number. In Westminster, we saw 5.7% with single family residences. Okay, now let's do our last number. 535 minus 499 divided by 499. Okay, and a 7.2% increase with all properties, including townhomes. Okay, so now we can look at this and we can go, okay, this property that we were looking at prior that had the sale date in August, okay, this one right here, I know that we can make an adjustment because not only did the entire market increase, but the Westminster market increase. So I know at minimum, it improved whatever our lowest figure was, which was 2.7%. So at minimum, it appreciates, or the market has appreciated with the with the entire MLS, which is 2.7%. So we take that 520,000 and we make that adjustment to that comp. Okay, so we go, okay, 520,000 times 1.027. Okay, and we now know that the timing adjustment adds $14,000 to this comp, minimally. Now, if you want to use the Westminster numbers, you can. So Westminster said that single family residences increased 5.7%. Okay, so 520,000 times 1.057, whoops, 1.057, 549. So that's an increase of 29,640. So if I were using this property as a comp, okay, and trying to comp something now in January, I would know that I should add, from a time perspective, somewhere between 14 and 29,000. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is how you look at market statistics and be able to apply comps that were done, comps, if you don't have any comps for the last 2 months and you need to use something from 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, no problem, use it, but then find out, statistically speaking, what the market has done during that time and then apply it to that property. Does that make sense? Okay, this is also how I win appraisals, appraisal rebuttals. So when appraisals come in low, if an appraiser used a certain comp and didn't give it a proper time adjustment, I do a write-up and say, you didn't do a proper time adjustment. Here are all the statistics showing you how, why you missed the mark. And I send over a ton of statistics showing, hey, look, this is the, you used a comp from 5 months ago and you only gave it a 3% time value adjustment. There's no statistic in the entire MLS that supports 3%. Every single one that I run, the entire MLS, hyper local, neighborhood, single family, residential, townhome, it doesn't matter. None of those have a 3% increase. They are all 5% or better. Therefore, your adjustment to this property is low. Okay. And so I've won appraisal rebuttals using this strategy. Okay. This is how you use older comps. So you go back 6 months. The other thing you can do is if you're in a tough comp range, you can either expand, right? I think that this is one of the things they teach is they go expand the range, increase the time, expand the range, increase the time, expand the range, increase the time until you find enough comps. If I know the market really well, or I know the area really well, and I know that expanding the range, I don't think is a good, again, if we go back into our Sheridan Green map here, I know that you can't grab properties across the street over here. You can't use this little neighborhood right here. It's just not a proper comp. I know that you can't use this neighborhood up here. I know that you can maybe grab some from here, but just doing a broad, increasing a radius just doesn't work. So you got to know the market really well in that area. Otherwise, I prefer to use time because I can at least stay in the same subdivision. And then I can account for that time just using statistical data that allows me to know what the market did over the past, 6 months or 12 months. Okay. So if you need to go back more than 6 months, go back to April's market and then run stats to see what the market has done from April until now and apply that adjustment to the property. That make sense? Okay. Any other questions on that? All right. Well, hopefully that was helpful to you. Again, once you sit down and actually do this yourself, it doesn't take long at all. It takes 10 minutes to do kind of a really easy initial comp here. Like I said, just look at your subject property or envision your subject property if you don't have pictures of it, and just start eliminating things that it's not in line. So you pull this one up and you go, I know it's not this nice. It's not a full flip. Like, hey, is your house brand new remodeled? If the answer is no, then it's not going to sell for 530. And you can get rid of this one and you can keep going down until you get a tight range or a tighter range. Okay.
Where did you find the math formulas for doing those types of things? Is there something like a CE course that you really like that you took for that, or is it just something you just kind of picked up?
I'm just good at math. I've been good at math.
Well, I'm not.
Yeah, no problem. So I'll give you the formulas right now if you want.
Yeah, what was that calculation? Yeah.
Okay, so your formulas are when you're trying to apply a change. Let's go back into stats. This is where you So let's do the whole market. All right. So if you want to know the increase in the market from 1 month to another, or the decrease for that matter, okay? It's your current month minus your original month, or whatever month you want to see that it's moved from, okay? So in this case, December minus August is your difference, okay? So let's do it right now. So December is 600, right? Minus August is 584, which is 16, okay? Then you divide, you take that number, 16, whatever you got. So your result divided by the old month, 584. And that equals your percent change in that period of time. So this would be 2.7%. Okay, let's do it where it goes down. All right, your original month. Let's do June to August. Okay, so your original month, okay, is 603. But remember, we're taking your current month, which we're calling our current month, where it went to. So our current month is 584 minus the original month, 603. So we're going to have a negative number here, right? So negative 19. So negative 19 divided by what? What number are we dividing by here?
The original month.
Let's see.
August.
No, our current month, 603. When you do the subtraction, you're dividing by the bottom number. The bottom number in your subtraction there, you're going to divide by the bottom number, okay, which is your original month. Okay, so we are now taking that negative 19 divided by 603. So negative 19 divided by 603, and we have a decrease of 3%. Okay, move the decimal 2 points to get a percent, right? 1, 2. Negative 3.115% from June to August. Okay. Should we do one more?
Sure.
Okay, let's go. Let's do a really big increase. Let's go February to December. Okay, so we take the month that we want to go to, which is December, 600, minus the original month that we want to come from, 523, okay, which equals 77, divided by what?
February, the 600.
February is not 600. You're right. You're right with February, but February wasn't 600.
Oh, what was it?
523.
Oh, I got them flop. Okay.
600 minus 523 is 77, divided by 523. 14.7%. Okay, and then do you now know how to apply that 14.7% to a comp?
I don't remember.
So let's say your comp is, let's say you've got a property that sold in February, okay, for 585,000.
Okay.
And you want to know what that property is worth today. So what do you have to do? Tell me in words what you have to do.
Multiply
back
by
to-
14.7.
You have to add 14.7%, which means multiply by 1.147%. Or not percent, but 1.147 times 585, 670. So if you bought a $585,000 property in February of this last year, It's now worth about 670, which is incredible, by the way. Okay, so that's how you figure out your differences there. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
I just have to practice.
You just practice it. Go in, literally pull up a chart and just do every month. Go like, okay, what was the increase from February to March? Again, 549. Okay, my rollover there is 549 minus 523. Okay, is 26, and 26 divided by 523 is 4.9%. So there's a 4.9% increase between February and March. Then you can do it again. So if you want to go April, so 584 to 549 is 35,000 or 35. Okay, 35 divided by 549, 6.3%. Huge, huge percentage increases at the beginning of last year. Okay. All right, so that's how you figure out how the market has changed over time and then apply it to a property that sold 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 12 months ago. Any more questions?
Probably after I try it for a while.
Yeah, keep working on it. Working on it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So a little, a few minutes ago, you were talking about, like you would take a notebook, and write down the list price, the close price, days on market. I feel like I missed something else on that list. What else were you writing down before you start doing like going 6 months back on solds, or pending? Does this sound familiar? I'm like going over my notes.
I wrote, let's see, I write the list price, the sold
Yep.
price, how long it was under contract for. So like 2 days in this case.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that was only for pulling the time statistic. The only reason I wrote this down was to pull the time statistic.
Okay.
So it wasn't like, I was doing a full comp on this. I wanted to remind myself what the property is because I didn't have both screens open at one time. I literally just had it on paper so I can look and go, okay, 475, 520. And then I write down what the entire MLS did.
Mhm.
And then I can find the percentage change, and then I can go back and apply it to that original property. So really all you need is the sold price, because that's the comp value. So if you write down 520 and it sold in August, and you know that the market increased August from December increased 2.7%, then all you need to do is add 2.7% to 520,000. And that is the new comp value of that property. Cool.
Mhm.
All right. What else? All right. Well, I would say let's call it there. That was hopefully that was good. Hopefully that give you guys a little bit more comfort going into the CMAs. And if again, watch the other videos that I put in the chat. Those are like full on step-by-step process of and by the way, there's more ways than one to do a CMA. These classes are going to be how I do a CMA. There's other people that are going to be like, oh, Nick's CMA, that doesn't make any sense. You should do it a totally different way. But we're probably going to end up in the same boat. So anytime you see a CMA class out there, if you're not feeling comfortable with doing CMAs, take it, because people will offer some different perspectives and will maybe have something that clicks with you better. Because for me, I'm a math guy, so I like numbers. And so for me, I like grabbing the statistics and going, well, let's see how much our market moved since that last comp sold, and I can get a really good number then. I mean, I feel like I can get a really good number. That property that sold at 520 in August, the entire MLS moved 2.7%. Westminster moved 5.7%. Maybe I'll go halfway in between and call it 4. So I'll add 4% to 520 and go, hey, this property's worth 540, 542. And that's gonna give me a comp within a couple $1,000, which I feel is pretty darn accurate. So, and then again, you have to take away and add what that property has compared to yours. Like if that property's got air conditioning and yours doesn't, you probably need to make a couple $1,000 adjustment to that. But at least you have a base point of 542 that you're making adjustments on, not adjustments on 520. And again, you want to make your timing adjustment probably, well, I guess it's not a huge difference, but I like to make the timing adjustment first, what that property is worth right now. Then I start taking off for air conditioning and, location and things like that. If you take off for all those things first and then make the timing adjustment, it's going to be a little off. So I like to make my timing adjustment first and then make my pricing adjustments based on where the property is or what it has or that kind of stuff. So. Okay.
I'm sorry, one more question. I'm still a little confused on the math. Do you always use the first month that you use? Like, do you always use the February if that was or use the highest month when you're dividing?
So you always use what month you're coming from, because remember, when we're looking at an increase, it's an increase from that month. So it's always the prior month. So if you took, let's say the difference here, let's do this one, for example, from 579 to 523. Okay, that's $56,000 difference. If you take 56 and divide it by this number, that doesn't make sense because it's increased from here. So you want to know how much the increase was from March.
Okay.
Or from February, I'm sorry. So it's always the prior month.
That's what I thought. That's what I wanted to make sure. Okay, appreciate it. Thank
Which
you.
happens to be the
Lowest.
denominator in a subtraction problem.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep. So, grab some stats and do this 10, 20 times in a row after we stop our meeting here, and you'll get it. You'll be like, okay, I got it. Just practice the math a little bit. So, all right. Any other questions? All right. Anything you guys want to go over in particular next week? Anything you guys would like to see that we haven't gone over yet? We're kind of getting towards the end of our classes, and then of our at least structured curriculum. I think I only have one left that we haven't done. But is there anything in particular you guys want to go over next week? Okay. The last structured course that I have is talking a little bit about your business itself. So talking about, potentially the formation of an S corporation, talking about some tax benefits, how you can do retirement, that kind of stuff. So we talk a little bit about your business structure and how you can support yourself and your family through your career as a self-employed person. So that's the last thing that we haven't really talked about. So anyway, if you guys log in next week and we want to talk about that, we can do that, or if something else comes up, we can chat about that too. So.
Thank you, Nick.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, everybody have a great rest of your week, and look forward to seeing you next week. I'll send out this recording by the end of the day.
Wonderful. Thank you. Have a good day.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.